be able to maybe have a little bit more with it here, but I imagine EDG, you want to just go Varus, Renata. Again, I feel like this Renata pick not going to the wayside is very much a Vampire doesn't play this.
Yeah, and that's a bit of a worry, because it feels like that champion's defining the support meta somewhat. We've kind of seen that for a couple of months now as well. It's not been a hidden pick at all. Instead, we're going to have yet another game of Azir. Azir, that means, what, 6 for 6 games of Azir out of the entire day?
Right,
this champion is here to stay, folks. Hope you like mages.
Hit rate is
I'm just saying, at
lot.
least it's not Azir Corky, right? We managed to avoid that today.
We almost had it.
Yeah, and we didn't. Importantly so, we didn't. We managed to avoid that to some extent, but we saw EDG hovering over the Vi themselves, maybe looking to take that away from Wei. He locks it in because they didn't. Now, Taliyah was played a lot by Chovy so far in the LCK, and it was banned away second round bans in game 2 of this series. Well, I was trying to think in one of the games. It has shown up on the ban list but not been picked, but it is locked in. And now suddenly you have a Vi combo, which you can play around for mid jungle. Last game wasn't really around the Vi Akali combo. Now, if you're out of position as this Varus or the Azir, if you get locked onto by the cease and desist from Vi, that Taliyah shunt back as well is going to absolutely one-shot you. So you have to be very careful around mid-jungle now.
Yeah, and I do love this Poppy pick coming out from EDG. It's a bit of a flex, can go to Ala and or Jiejie. Technically can go to Vampire as well. We don't know what he's capable of.
Support Poppy into Kalista, yeah.
It could be a very good thing, but that's exactly why I bring it up. Against the Kalista and the Vi, very good at stopping any engage.
You know, the off-meta support I saw into Kalista was Vex, because every time she autos, you get the extra damage from your passive. You're never going to see that, but it's just funny, and I thought I'd say it.
Yeah, well, I mean, talking about the Renata not being a thing that played by Vampire, I think that's kind of definitively tells us he does not enjoy playing it. They have banned it away on their side, despite having the first pick after this rotation of bans.
That's a problem, folks. Renata is kind of the be-all and end-all of supports if it's up and available, because it just allows you to do so much. You slaughter the laning phase, and your later game impact is so empowering towards your AD carries and disengage, and of course even just your bailouts, extra buffs as well. Seeing a lot of support bans now being themselves onto that ban list.
Alistair taken away here from Ming, one of his most played champions of all time.
Yeah.
And that is definitely a fun little venture back in time. But, I mean, things like the Nautilus are still available. There's things like the... hell, he could even go for the Braum if he's really feeling the pressure from something like the Varus. There are options there, but the Jace being taken away here from Ala, very curious to know where they're thinking this next kind of pick will go. But it looks like EDG is saying, look, we'll take away the Nautilus. We know that that's going to be Ming's go-to.
What are you playing if you think that Jace is going to be the answer into it? You might
Fiora. I mean,
at some point, I mean, Jace was an okay pick into stuff like Rumble, in fact. I think we saw a game of that from Doppler and NRG in the LCS. I think he played that the other day. Of course, Zeus has always been a long time Zeus Jace top lane user as well. But you got to be playing something that gets abused by that. Something squishy like a Kennen, yeah, that does lose out to a Jace if that's what you're planning in advance. Of course, that gives you a huge extra engage threat on the top side of the map. And this was a pick that we even saw Bid close out third game with in our first series of the day.
Yeah, Kennen 100% pick rate in game 3s so far in the LPL. So that's going to be locked in here for Breed, which makes
it's
the
a sample size of 1.
Is the stat wrong or not? Is it
I'm
wrong or not?
Don't you have a stats degree?
I don't have a degree in stats. I used to do stats for operation.
That's the one.
I like stats.
I thought you were qualified at this.
I like building those stat templates.
Wonderful.
It's very fun. Shout out to my old manager Connie over at the LEC. She taught me everything I know. But the Sett support coming in here from RNG,
okay.
That is going to be a nice, aggressive bot lane. I'm going to expect a lot of attention from Wei.
Level 1 flash from Sett, because Sett loves Hex Flash so much. You just all in for a flash face breaker and just see what you get. And someone like Nautilus, even they can't out-duel you at that level 1. So much damage. And of course, if you do over-engage and there's a jungler there like a Poppy, then things go from bad to worse. So we're going to see the Aatrox up top side as well. And Aatrox can get a leg over on the Kennen. Now, you need to just take one heavy trade as Aatrox, and then suddenly the Kennen's in kill pressure. But if you fail to get that, Kennen just tends to bleed you out. Interested to see actually if this could even be something like the AD Kennen. I expect it to be AP all the same, just because of the burst potential for that. But those just throwing that onto the table just in case they want to play for slightly more split push.
Absolutely. And look, this is very clearly from both teams, front-to-back team fights. You're looking for an engage or a flank from your top laners. You have got the big movement coming in here from both the supports to try and set things up for their team, and hoping and praying that both of your carries are sitting on the back just pumping out damage. Fisher has looked okay on the Azir. I wouldn't call it exceptional, but things like I like how both teams have a bit of anti-dash kind of synergy. You got the Poppy on the RNG side, and then, sorry, the EDG side. And on the RNG side, you have the Taliyah. So dashing in and creating those moments is actually going to be quite hard.
So what that means is often stuff like move speed is often very important too, to kind of like bridge the gap until that skill is down. So something like an Aatrox, once you pop that ultimate, you can sometimes outplay a Taliyah just by walking at them instead of pressing E. Have to see if that comes into the factor. This feels like a fairly even draft. Bot lane is going to be very strange to watch in the early levels. We haven't seen a Sett support in a little while. It was all the rage back in 2020. That was when it really started to come around, though Sett was everywhere at that point in time. Yes. Level 1's very important for this bot lane. As we said, Sett could just flash and them.
Flashy, he can get, of course, the Haymaker, get that extra shielding, so he can tank a lot more than you think. And the synergy with the Kalista is honestly incredible because he goes in aggressively. If he goes too aggressive, you can always drag him back and bring him back in. But this is our 6th game of the day, the 3rd game of our 2nd series, and our last one of our 1st day of spring 2024. We are jumping in, and we're going to see who will be joining BLG at the top and Top Esports at the bottom.
Those fan chants, the Jiejie's, been missing them as well. Gosh, and again, just a reminder, folks, it's been 5.5 months since we've had LPL. Today is our first day of a new year, a long new year ahead of us. Very excited to see where these teams will end up beyond that point. We're starting off with obviously what we expect to be a top-of-the-table clash between BLG and Top Esports, and this is a very historic one between RNG and EDG, one of the most played matchups of all time. It's our El Clasico, it's our GT Fnatic, TSM CLG, our Telecom War, whatever you want to call it. This is the one to watch from the LPL across history. And while we've had some up and down moments in this series, not gonna lie, EDG were in a bit of a sad spot most of that game too. Just kind of see how this new school on both sides, we've seen some new players now enter this rivalry too, perform. It's just one to note down and hopefully put together into the history book for later.
And the thing is, when you look at these two teams, we were taking right at the start of the broadcast today, or right at the start of the series, it's a temperature check. How do these two teams look? How do they perform in their relative scopes? And this is a bit of a moment where you go, right, they're not a million miles away from each other, which makes this matchup a lot more contested because again, we talk about this more and more, you only get one shot, and this could be a playoff contending or sea and summer kind of matchup. You
see that Ming was really looking to try and again go forward aggressively at the level 1 mark, but a good ward in the brush and some good spacing by Liev means that they lose out some HP on the level 1. They get the wave control, but that's all going to be it. So no fireworks just yet in the bot lane, whereas in top lane, it's Kennen. He does this. Ranged top laners, and this one is actually functioning as a top laner throughout most of the game as well, unless as opposed to something like a Lucian or a Vayne, which can sometimes struggle to form that role later on. He's going to just pin Ala back for the moment.
Wei making some early moves down towards this spot side, but just making sure that Tangyuan is in a solid position to not get caught out should Jiejie find himself. Because again, you love saying this.
Full build Poppy, man.
Full build Poppy,
yeah, level 3, that's all you need for a game. Let's see what he can do here.
Oh, Tangyuan walk towards the Poppy there for a second. We'll flash now straight away, but they're going to go in onto this. Just pop down a little bit more damage. Don't know if Jiejie really thought he was going to get anything out of it, but a flash is a flash, so that's still a win.
Again, it's the power of the full build Poppy. Love it. You see that champion, and if it's not a 1 or a 2 hovering next to their name, you're in trouble. So getting some value for it. Of course, Poppy jungle is something that the LPL, I'm going to say, even specialized in last year. We had some really good Poppy jungles. Wei was amongst them, and we see this now, the wall charge around the blue buff. We're going to take a good chunk, and now suddenly the Ignite put down onto Vampire.
Oh, he had to flash away if he gets hit by the center of that Q. You know he's going to go down there, get an extra little bit of power damage, but this is the Sett Kalista combination. So dangerous to really come up against, and Ming, I think he cancelled it. I think he actually had it going, and he cancelled it with the movements. That's a bit unfortunate, but he now knows.
I think it just disappeared based on the timing of it, because he did press the Q to give himself like the extra reset with the left hook, right hook. Didn't quite manage to go through that, but still, that means that at least safe from a dive, I think, at EDG's bot lane now, because on red side bot lane, it's kind of hard to protect that. He comes back for more.
Give me that.
I'll get you next time.
It's one of those things where you're just going, I don't care if it doesn't make it worth anymore. I need it. But let's have a look at the replay here, because again, let's have a look. 1, 2.
No!
He cancels it. I told you. I told you he cancelled it.
Oh man,
I made it up for it.
No, I need to see it with. I wanted to see it with the team vision to see if it just did. Whatever.
True.
It's fine.
However, I will say, if you're new to the LPL, first of all, welcome. But secondly, caught myself off for a second.
Wow, Tangyuan's down here early.
Yeah, Tangyuan is down here very early, but they're jumping in on top of this one. Wei has to flash out of that. Yeah, went way too deep without having any kind of full thing. But if you are new to the LPL, our observers are savage. They will not let our players away with anything.
No.
Last year, we had so many times where a top laner specifically, or most top laners would say, would miss the cannon, and the observers would zoom in just as they missed it. It was really like, I don't know what they had against them, but they will not let you away with anything.
You call them savage, I call it holding our players to high standards, you know? We are not beyond putting our players through public ridicule, apparently.
Apparently we're very much up for that.
Okay, right, so we've seen a bit of a back and forth, nothing really ever emerging anything so far, but Grubs have just spawned on top side, so Kevin, they are under threat fairly well. Looks like they are not going to put up much of a fight this time.
Not this time, because a bit of a roam, an early roam coming out from the side of RNG. They had already got the Kalista up there as well, so really no way you can contest that, sadly. Oh, sorry, not the Kalista, excuse me, the Sett, but here's a bit of a shuffle, and they're going to use the Poppy combination as well. Tangyuan will sacrifice his life as the rest of his team go after that, but that's going to be our EDG, I should say, getting themselves their first blood of the entire series.
Yeah, it's a play in multiple parts. The flash taken away earlier by Jiejie, and then suddenly hook, line, and sinker in the mid lane. First ult of the game from Fisher works out very well. Good start for him, given that game 2 was a difficult game for Fisher as well.
Really well done. They'll get themselves a little chicken prize as well, making sure they can get something more than that. It's actually good to get that for the side of Jiejie. He was falling a little bit behind in the LCSs, but like you say, once Poppy has that first 3 levels, I don't know.
Everything else is secondary.
I would also say maybe Ionian boots, just so the cooldowns are pretty good, but after that, as you say, everything is secondary until 6, and then that's pretty good too. But with the priority now being shifted back in favor of RNG, this to-ing and froing is definitely going to lead them into an early dragon as well. So that's 2 objectives, and yes, EDG got a kill, but it doesn't lead to an objective.
No, and it's we haven't had the game blow open just yet, and I think as opposed to last game, there's no one matchup which has been tilted so far out of control that it's actually game-losing, like it wasn't the top lane matchup from game 2 with Breathe getting so far ahead. And of course, I guess in game 1, and I suppose it was top lane again, thinking about it. Although for most of the day, it's been bot lane. So, gold is just about even. Objectives over to the side of RNG, as you rightfully pointed out. Where's the game-breaking play going to come in? When was that going to be? Feels like both these teams getting towards the point where they can start really pulling the trigger hard. I think once you get level 6 on Wei, we know exactly how good he is at finding angles. It's really whether Jiejie can be there in time to answer a good play.
And level 6 here for LWX. They don't have level 6 on the bot side, so if they wanted to go aggressive with Ming to flash in and E, maybe could have looked for something.
Like, it feels so alien not seeing a Sett support flash almost 7-8 minutes into the game. I'm just not used to that. If he doesn't have Hex Flash, I feel like something's gone wrong.
He might look for something here. They are just trying to maybe just push this one up. Don't have their jungler in the vicinity. Have decent wards, though, covering the most of the bottom side of the jungle of EDG, so RNG not going to be too worried about everything, but Wei with his ultimate is huge. That is where I feel like we're going to start to see the shift in the mental of both these teams as he looks to try and make a play around the map.
And that's why it's very important. You see 2 pink wards in top river. There's one being put down by Arla in the Pixel Brush, which is, well, the new Pixel Brush. Pixel Brush is technically gone now. It used to be the one a little bit further into the river. And there's one just near the mid lane kind of jungle entrance as well. Between the both of them, it's quite hard for Wei to find himself into the river. So with that one ward cleared, it will give him a bit of ingress into ADG's side of the map.
You can see just how much respect Allah has to give right now. He does not have vision. He does not know where this Vi is. And if he gets caught, this is where the snowball can happen.
Oh dear.
Here we go. They're going to pop down both ultimates. They're going to go over the wall. There is the cease and desist. And there is the kill. Allah's right to flash away right at the last second. But RNG on the board.
4-1 out for the Aatrox. That one is sad. He has himself Merc Threads now, but he didn't have that before that play, I'm pretty sure. I'm actually not sure about that one. I just said pretty sure, I'm not sure. Anyway, he has them now. It wasn't enough from there. He's losing a huge wave to turret. He doesn't have teleport. There are 2 plates down there. And this laning phase domination pick of the Kennen, which transforms into a teamfight carry, is very well and truly off the ground. We might be seeing a similarity to Game 2 where the top lane falls out of control now.
And again, it was down to Wave finding an opportunity. And this is where this game gets a little bit funky. Now we're going to have a 3v3. There we're going to go in. There's the face breaker coming in. They're going to have the Taliyah popping off as well as they look to try and maybe re-engage, and this Vampire gets knocked up right as LWX flashes over to make sure you get the damage down, putting in all these spears, rending your soul, and the revenge is sweet for LWX.
Yeah, that ain't the scary kind of Vampire. That's the one that sparkles. It's not going to help out his team too much there. Once again, finding himself in the death column early into the game. He was first blooded twice earlier in this series. Sadly, not able to make a particularly large impact to that fight either. That was a huge Taliyah ult. Now suddenly RNG, they're starting to find these game-breaking advantages across the map.
Leave just kind of staying bot side, really not really able to kind of get into this one. You can see him kind of just sitting there. This is always going to be a mismatch.
Tough. It's really hard to get that, though. It's quite easy to accidentally ping one side of those 2 characters and not get the stun because you don't have a target either side of you on the facebreaker. Tanks up the pop ult as well. His job was already done. Honestly, great play out of that Sett. Big value, especially with the Kalista ult re-engage too.
Oh, they're maybe looking for LWX. Vampire will need to hit a hook, but extra movement speed from the heal summoner from LWX does put him out of harm's way. But Leave, having that extra time on that bot side does lead him to have a much better time of picking up these plates solo. With Jiejie just trying his best to be a bit of a nuisance to take away some of these camps. Vampire needs to be careful, otherwise he will be turned to dust very, very quickly. This Kalista is still no joke.
Absolutely not. Has the tier 2 boots, so the dash range is increased. The chase down potential very, very strong. What this does mean, though, because Ming was going up and making a nuisance of himself, he's going to buy time for the grubs to go down on the top side of the map.
That's going to be 6 grubs now. That's a lot of Kevins.
It's a lot.
I mean, if you had 6 Kevins in the same room,
would be really
you would think that's weird.
That would be really strange.
Really weird.
I think anyone named any name 6 times. Well, I mean, it would be quite
separate
funny.
individuals.
So, like I said, it would be quite funny if you could name them like Jeff, Jeff, and Jeff, but all spelled differently. Are there 6 different spellings of Kevin? I don't think there are.
Really,
maybe you could have like a Q, like Kevin with a Q.
Yeah. A Kevin with a Z, but the Z is silent. I'll let you. I'll let you figure out where. I'll let you figure it out. I'll let you figure out. It's just silent. You don't need to know where it is. It's silent.
That's terrible. Imagine if this is going to be in my head forever now, where if someone just introduces it, it's like, oh, I'm Alex, with a silent Z. Where is it?
It's like an old Vine. It's just like, you know, I'm Alex with a B. What?
It's like, I'd like a boneless pizza. What? Yeah. What do you mean by that?
I mean, it's not incorrect. I also would like a boneless pizza. You're looking at this incorrectly. That's just kind of how it is. But Ala taking such a beating right now up in this top side, and there's just nothing he can do. We saw this in the first series as well with Bin on the Aatrox. If the Aatrox falls behind, he just gets bullied.
And I'm trying to remember, was this the counter pick of the Aatrox into the Kennen as well? I believe it was.
No,
picked into
Aatrox was the counter pick into. Oh my lord, I can't remember. It was something that gets countered by Darius.
Oh, Udyr. No, I mean, in this game, anyway. Yeah. But either way, like, this matchup has just gone horribly, and EDG on the red side feels like maybe they could have given Ala a better top lane matchup. We know how good he is from a lead. He is one of our better top laners, but sadly for him, he's finding himself in an awkward situation. He can't teleport in. He doesn't have the HP. Breathe can.
Yes, Breathe can, but can they get anything else out of it? Vampire just going to be left to die. Wei goes all the way into the back line. They'd even cut them off. Nicely done by Tangyuan to make sure that Wei did not get caught out. I mean, Ala just can't really join that. I completely agree with that call, but it does give up that dragon over to the side of RNG. And again, this is something that Ala's just kind of have to accept. He's too far behind. He needed this free time.
However, I think this actually works out in Ala's favor. It's not a game-breaking fight. This wouldn't be great, though, if Leave gets called. That's cheap. That is cheap. You can't look like that.
And that is just the way this series is kind of turning right now. You can see these cogs moving for RNG. Game 1, bit one-dimensional. Game 2, they picked up a couple more dimensions, looking a bit more fuller about themselves. And they're just starting to feel just more and more in control, similar to game number 2.
They have. So, because Breathe teleported away from top lane, it gave Ala, honestly, a big route back in terms of gold in those plates as well. Problem is, Leave dying on bot side means that you lose a lot of plates on bot side and waves there too. It felt like they could take a mini victory, a consolation at least. But going back to the replay of this one, again, we were highlighting on how Breathe could enter the fight, but Ala couldn't. How does it happen down here, though? It's a hook in from Vampire. Look, one of these supports has a Kalista, the other one doesn't. Vampire, he's just out in the middle of nowhere. Very hard situation for him. It's the nature of the Nautilus support. When you're in a fight, you're either winning that fight with your hook or you are dying horribly. And
you go in or you go out. You can choose one of the two, but
they had no vision on where they'd gone. It was very soon after they'd shown him bot side jungle. That feels a bit cheap.
That's just unfortunate. Leave not taking his namesake and not leaving. Just really not putting himself into that regard.
Yeah, let's make like EDG spot laning. Get out of here.
And split. Anyway, no, that's Valorant. Again, this is really good play though from RNG. It does feel like they're more comfortable with this style of play, and this is very reminiscent from 2021 RNG, where they did win MSI, where they were able to kind of create these moves with Ming and Wei holding hands, roaming around the map, and making plays.
I think one of the big evolutions from that time, though, was back then it was Xiaohu kind of chaperoning Wei as well and playing some mid-jungle. Wei was kind of, I'm not going to say he was mind-controlled or he was the one being piloted, but he has very much become his own leader archetype. He's really evolved into that position and had a really good impact on his team. He's been very important to them. Jiejie stops channeling that ultimate. It's going to go on cooldown, and RNG will be able to defend their bot lane tower.
Yeah, I thought Ming was going to flash maybe just to try and maybe catch out the Azir, but Fisher holds on to his, and they are able to back themselves away. First items being completed by most carries in this game, but this gap in the top side is just getting enormous, and it's only going to get harder and harder because now you have to start maybe prioritizing a little bit of magic resistance, because you look at things like the Taliyah, the Kennen. These are things that are going to shred through your health bar, and as an Aatrox, you're not going to be able to respond to it because you're going to be in melee. You're not going to be in melee range. Might
be a bit different if you're playing, a Cassante with a Kennen Rooken or something like that. Where actually, if Kennen ults, you can press W and you'll probably be okay. When you fall behind in something like an Aatrox matchup, which of course we saw in this game, really, he's managed to claw back some of it, don't get me wrong, but you are going to be one shot along with the rest of your team. No one on EDG can really deal with that. You don't have yourself any exhaust on the side of EDG either to mitigate some of that damage. It feels like this is going into a very dangerous territory now where you pretty much are, you have to hit the Poppy ultimate onto the Kennen to eject them from the fight, because if they ever get on top of you, that's game over.
Yep. And I think that for RNG, 2-for-1 sale. They lose their top tier 1, but they're not really caring about the Aatrox right now. He's a little bit irrelevant and honestly may stay that way for a very long time. Get bot tier 1, get mid tier 1, which we always talk about is so important, especially with the way the new map is fanned out.
Yeah,
having those extra avenues to kind of take over space and control vision is so key.
Yeah, because the way that mid lane turret is kind of placed now, it's harder to walk into the enemy jungle from mid lane because it kind of covers one of those entrances more than it used to. Taking that one down very much helps you kind of get more vision. Oh my god! Owie.
Yeah, Poppy ain't full build no more.
No.
Poppy need items. Poppy need magic resistance.
Poppy need hospital. Poppy need hospital.
Poppy needs a helping hand, and already getting that Rift Held down. Try and get another tier 2, and this is just good, small decisions that are leading to much bigger advantages for RNG. They knew they could have left that bot lane going. They played towards that weak side, and they moved that, having that Rift held in the back pocket to play towards a much bigger advantage.
So, talking about those big advantages, itemization is going to be a very visible part of that. Second item hit already for Breathe. He has the Storm Surge, and as we were just saying, there's no exhaust, no real way to stop him getting into the fight, as opposed to, or rather just the big Poppy ult. That's a lot of wards. Breathe doesn't have flash, but I don't think he needs it with those ward angles.
It's up in a couple of seconds though, and that's the thing. They haven't swept these out at all. This could be a monumental shift in the way this game is going, but now they might just try to bully him again. Stop bullying Ala. He doesn't need it. Ala realizes that he knows that the bullies are coming.
He gets to keep his lunch money like this time.
This one. Yeah, he didn't get to lose his didn't get his Pokemon card stolen off him this time, but he will be moving himself right the way back. You can see them just being corralled together. EDG, you don't want to be here as a 5. If you get caught by this, you're just going to be screwed.
Breathe just got his flash back up. You can see EDG trying to hug this one brush to see if they can get a hook out of the Fog of War. Now, if they can blow Breathe up, that's a different story. I don't know where they have the damage for it. don't think they have the damage to do it before he gets his ult off either way. Way's looking for an engage. That's a Weaver's wall.
Fisher. They've separated Fisher, and they're going to go straight in now. There's going to be the Haymaker across 3, but I don't think Ming's going to be able to stay alive for this much longer. They're holding the Kalista ult. Never mind, they couldn't use it. Kalista got punted out of there, and that's why EDG were able to take out the Sett. He couldn't go in and get back out because the Kalista couldn't save him.
However, they are not going to get themselves the dragon. Ala just about manages to stay safe as well. Vampire, very low HP. I was trying to remember which one of them went very low. Vampire did a great job of keeping Breathe from directly following up with that combo.
Again.
I don't know if you can go for this, folks. Breathe still has flash, still has ult.
WX and Breed just keeping Ala away. They actually get themselves out of the pot.
Okay, maybe they can.
They can, because you can't really go for a fight like that. They do bait out the Azir ultimate, but unfortunately for Breed, he just gets clipped by it, so he can't go for a flash engage. And all in all, that's a fantastic win for EDG.
Honestly, fair play. I am surprised that RNG were not able to reposition for a dragon fight, even with the loss of the one member before that fight came in. It felt like they had all the tools to blow open that one. And maybe they just don't want to give the chance of a 45 going awry for themselves. I would have gone for that fight. I think it would have potentially been the blow-open fight. Yeah, I would have gone for it.
I could take you in a fight.
I really want you to look at how Vampire plays this towards the bot side of the fight. Yes, ends up getting the start of this fight, but look how well he deals with the Kennen as soon as this second fight comes, part of the fight comes in. Because he's put in place by the slow, with the auto attack route and stuff like that, he gets out with just enough HP and stops Breathe from comboing up with the rest of his team.
Yeah, and a good little move as well from Ala, just kind of putting himself between the Nautilus and the wall, so if a Shuriken does come in, which it did, he was able to tank that up for his teammate. But very, very good knockback as well. You can see the Keeper's
Verdict.
Keeper's Verdict.
Judgment. Keeper's Judgment.
No, Keeper's Verdict is correct. You were correct. You were correct.
It's been a long day, folks.
It has been a very long day. But the Keeper's Verdict just basically deciding, well, the Sett's dead now. There's nothing they can do. They can't get reset onto this, and that is why it was such a good fight there for EDG, which brings them back into this game a little bit. It's not done and dusted just yet. But for now, RNG still, you feel, have the advantages. They just need to be a little bit, honestly, I'd say a little bit more aggressive. I feel like they should have went for that fight.
Yeah, it felt like that was the real point of power. When they had to. Oh, this is not where you want to be. He is very far away from his team.
He doesn't even know. He doesn't even know. Now he does. He did.
That is a big mistake. And again, this is exactly what we were saying before. RNG, it felt like they had the point of power, but that is a big blunder. Now, suddenly, your jungler's off the map. It's not to the point where I think that EDG could look towards the Baron. I don't think they really have the ability to take that down before someone like Breathe would get that final teleport on. But they can get vision around the Baron, and that might give them an angle to find the actual fight, which could break up in the game for them.
This is the big thing. It gives them resources, gives them a kill back over to Leave. Leave can get a couple more items to become even more obnoxious of a long archer, hitting people with piercing arrows, but also gives them time. You had to reset. Wei is now only coming back onto the map right now. It meant that everybody on the side of EDG... As Ala pops out the ultimate there, not going to be able to get anything out of that, but it does mean that EDG have got that time to reset, push out top, get themselves recompose, and potentially look to try and get something going for them a little later on.
I was actually going to mention in regards to this side lane matchup too. So it's post 20 minutes and we have the buffs which will transfer to the entirety of the team. So we talked about Azir earlier being able to apply red buff. I mean, Kennen is a big auto attacker. Getting the team-wide red buff, he typically doesn't get that because normally it's given over to the AD carry. Now, if he gets to get a red buff auto to slow down the Aatrox, I think that really puts him into a lot of threat range he might not be expecting. So pay attention to just how many of these small red buff autos from characters who aren't used to that buff might come in handy.
Right, indeed. EDG now walking into darkness, though. Breathe now realizes there is no ward on him. He's on a perfect flank. Baron has been started. EDG, they're looking for this Breathe. They know he's not in the Baron pit just yet. They need to make sure that they're not going to get caught out by the slicing maelstrom, but they might just lose the Baron. They don't seem interested in it.
The rend is stacking up to a huge amount at this point. Wei is losing a bit of HP from tanking this for so long. Weaver's walls cutting them off from the angle.
Yeah, they don't get the Keeper's Verdict either. And this is going to be Breathe looking for a little bit of a move. He finds Leave, and that's going to be a kill going up to them. They need to fix the fight, though. They get the Baron, but can they get people out of there? The Ignite will take down Breathe. No! He's on nothing. The flash forward, the shutdown. down. The Aatrox picks up that kill. But do you want this kill? Wait, I'm not quite sure you wanted the fight. You need to get the hell out of there. Should be able to get himself away as the rest of his team go for Fisher. Look for a bit of an engagement. Won't be able to get it. And now the rest of his team shall pay for his moves. They did not think he would die so quickly. And eventually Jiejie will flash away and maybe get out with his life. A smite comes down to slow him, but he pops down the Q. Another Q. Q misses. It's a jungle v jungle BS to the flash forward. The steadfast presence.
Come on.
And now he misses another one. He needs an empowered auto, but he's not going to get it. The Baron does go to RNG, but my God, they're making it hard work for themselves.
They are a bit. They do get themselves a Kennen ultimate, but it's not necessarily the one which ends the game. It was, you know, it gets onto a couple of people, takes leave out of the fight, of course, but it's not the crushing ultimate which we're sort of expecting from a Kennen being this fed. RNG, nonetheless, though, they walk away with the Baron. Good use of the Weaver's Wall to make sure that leave and the rest of the crew can't get into damaging positions. It feels like the problem is that RNG don't quite decide whether they want to peel off or turn for the fight. You know, LWX and Tangyuan, they're not really comboing up. Of course, Breathe is full sending it into the enemy team. But because they split, it means that the fight gets a lot closer than it had any right to be.
And again, Ming goes forward, but then kind of looks to LWX. Oh my God, he hit the turret to drop it up, but gonna have to go back straight into this and see if they go for a fight. There is no, there is a slicing maelstrom, but RNG do not gonna pull the trigger on that. But LWX isn't really comboing up with Ming on this right now. Ming's going forward, and LWX kind of needs to be in position to drag him back out.
Yeah, a little bit. But either way, RNG, I feel like they've done the hard work. They've gotten so many individual leads that they can kind of get away with it. Now, that's not necessarily what you want for the finished product of this team, but this is the very first series of the year, despite it being against their arch nemesis in the LPL. Of course, if they won here, they extend their record very slightly over them too. Something like, I don't know, 73 to 62 all time. They've played so many games. But either way, it would get them a series win against them, which puts them onto the board, which I'm sure will be very, very well appreciated.
Absolutely. And again, this could be a playoff hopeful in EDG. Could be, you know, kind of a postseason run for RNG. They need to pick up these wins. So for RNG, this is a great start for them. Of course, want to win every single game you can, as we get a nice keeper's verdict there from Jiejie, but I don't know if they're going to be able to get anything else out of that. As you can see, the keeper's verdict just stopping any kind of engage as the Sett went flying. And that means that it's a good defense coming out from EDG. They're not just falling over and folding down. They are still in this series, even if it is by their fingernails.
It is. RNG have, I think, unexpectedly struggled to force fights at this point, especially with the Vi Taliyah. You've got the Sett with the Kalista safety as well. You would have thought they'd just throw in a couple of curveballs out there and see what happens, because they have the extra stats. Feels like they're playing a little bit reserved when they potentially don't need to be. You're getting to the point now where EDG do actually have second and particularly third item even on Leave. He's kept himself up to decent amount of relevance. I don't exactly think Leaf's going to be in position to, 1v5 a team fight, because the thing about Poke Varus is that you're very good at killing the first target or finishing off the, the first combo that's going towards in your team. You're not really going to be stacking up in the same way that lethal tempo does with your on-hit, though. You can't find that pocket to do huge amounts of damage. I mean, in this case, going on-hit into Kennen would be bad. It's just Leave, even with 3 items, isn't going to be your savior. You need to find yourself probably some good macro plays to get someone isolated to stop RNG from really making the use of their full 5v5.
Take a little breather. No one really pushing for anything exceptional right now. We are seeing both teams just happy to farm it up. Again, Breathe, absolutely massive. The Terminus picked up here by LWX, so he's going to have a nice little bit of armor shred and a little bit of survivability as well. The light and the light and the dark. Auto attacks on that, and of course they alternate between each auto attack, so it's 1 for 1 as you keep going. So great synergy.
Can I just say
like
that Terminus, it joins the ranks of the items like Chemtech Chainsword and stuff like this, which just sound like they're out of Warhammer 40,000. I don't know where the aesthetic is very much that of like, yeah, I mean we're definitely heading towards that kind of area of things. There is a theme towards it. Storm Surge also wouldn't be out of place.
No, not at all. But now you can see just taking away all these buffs. RNG making sure they have absolutely everything to come into this next fight, which could potentially be in a minute 30 around this dragon or around this Baron. Still waiting to see what they want to go for. Jiejie just looking to be a nuisance on top of Ming, but Ming very safe knowing that no one else was really kind of following him. And we wait. We wait to see what the next big move will be.
We have done some waiting this series. RNG, even when they were in the lead.
The first series. years.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, when you get like, it's like you get like the best bit of an ice cream. It's like, you know, like the sauce and the toppings. Then you get to the rest of the ice cream. It's still good. Like, it's ice cream.
It's like, oh, yeah, you need
yeah,
to...
but I like the chocolate syrup.
Do you have a favorite? You know the cosmopolitan. And is it the what are the like the pinky chocolatey? What are the 3-colored ice creams called? Cosmopolitans, Neapolitans?
Neapolitans.
That's the one. That's like, one of the other one's a cocktail, I think. But either way,
Cosmopolitan is a cocktail.
Yeah.
Back to beer. Why are we doing this? Some Freudian slips in there. Yeah. Again, it's, you know, you get your one as we kind of move forward and we get to see kind of what things are doing, but it is, yeah, it's a little bit of a different pace.
I mean, the thing is, when EDG were in the lead, it felt like they actually could force a lot of those fights, particularly through Ella's Jax. RNG have been very reserved, even when they've had that lead. It feels like they're very wary of letting those leads go, which it's okay for the first series of your split. Like to see less reservation when you have those points of power. I think the mark of a good team is not just understanding when, you know, what a winning fight is. It's also being able to like use the breadth of your strength as well and kind of play the margins well.
They haven't spotted out that ward, and Wei won't spot it on this one either. They don't know. There's a little bit of vision just crept in there around that Baron pit. So Breed, level 16, 3.5 items. He's looking absolutely massive. I will say for Allah, he is up to 3 items right now, and it's level 16, so he has fallen. He did fall behind, no doubt about it, but he is fine.
Not again.
I've seen this movie before. He needs to stay alive. He had to flash. He had to go for that, because if he doesn't, if he gets caught and he dies there, that's Baron, and that could be a huge game-ending fight in favor of EDG.
His jungle item, honestly, really helping him out there. The Ghost Walker, giving him the extra movement speed, allows him to get away from the collapse of EDG. He does lose his flash. Maybe that means he can't flash ultimate onto someone like Leave to help with the combo now.
I mean, you go for this because you know the Q in is not going to be able to be followed up by a flash. And now, do you look for something else? A flash away by Fisher as they look to try and burn down the Sett. Finally gets hit in, but here we go! Slicey Maelstrom lands onto 4, and they are melting these health bars. But can they take the fight back? That's the question. Tangyuan is still very, very healthy, as is LWX. Yes, you killed off 2 on the side of RNG, but it does not matter because they were not the carries. Allah, it was a very valiant effort, but it was not enough. RNG get themselves a 3 for 2, and they'll get the Baron.
There's the fight. They finally had it. To be honest, you could see a little bit of why they were scared of flubbing and engage before this, because Fisher got some insane damage in a minute turnaround against RNG. Leave. Stranger things have happened. In fact,
yes.
I think
I've seen a Baron taken by a Janna Q.
Funnily enough, I think I've seen Leaf steal a Baron like that, even if it was an LGL. He's had a history on that champion trying to take away those objectives. Right, let's see how this went again. This is after, of course, Wei had used his flash. EDG felt emboldened to go elsewhere. I want you to really look at how much damage Fisher is doing in the spaces that he does. Breathe gets onto the carries, but this ult back and the ult onto Ming deletes Ming's health bar with just that. If you actually allow Fisher to stand and auto attack, then that's a big problem. They just about get away with it, but even then, that's a couple of people dead, which I'm pretty sure they weren't expecting.
Yeah, I mean, look, EDG have weathered a hell of a storm. RNG, though, are still in the lead, 8,000 gold up. Now they put themselves on the Chemsol point, and they are starting to move forward. They need to do something with this Baron, though. They need to start taking down these inner structures.
I would really like to do that. It's taken them a while to dismantle EDG in both games, despite feeling like they have game-breaking advantages. This is going the distance. LWX is on his way to a Jack show. That has been the 4th item of choice for the Kalista. You don't really need extra damage items after this point. You need the ability to keep getting those auto attacks down. So Jack show giving that ramping resist through a team fight can very much help you with that one, especially with the Terminus as well, which does the same thing but on hit instead. We have two waves being played around by RNG. Ming walking up does have the Kalista ult again if things get too spicy. EDG, if they got anything to play with here, it looks not that applicable for a big flank. They have one teleport ward behind them. Kalista ult
and the Taliyah one. Weaver's wall down, Fate's called down, and I mean, it's moments like this where you're thinking for RNG, like, you have this game in your hand. Oh my lord, I feel like if Jiejie walks up, literally one more pixel he sees and he flashes. Well, he didn't have flash, but he definitely would have looked to push in on top of that. So it's a longer game. Neither of these teams, again, this is the last game in this best of 3, last game of the day. You want to start with a win. You don't want to be starting off again, especially if your schedule starts to look very poorly. You don't want to be hitting up 0-3, 0-4, 0-5 before you start picking up wins.
Particularly for 2 teams which have changed a lot this offseason too. You would like to go in with a bit more Wei.
Oh, he's looking for something, but I don't know if he really wanted it. The Chain of Corruption doesn't land, but it doesn't have to. Wait, my bro, you've been doing so well in game number 2 on this Vi, and this one, he's just not picking the right engages.
That was an awkward timing. The Hex Flash completed before the damage would have cancelled it. So Jiejie manages to bait way into his death somehow, somewhere along the line. EDG, what are they? I mean, they can't really do anything about this. It's not like there's an objective to go rush. One of the big things which has come in, I've noticed in the last 2 fights, when Fisher deleted Ming's health bar, and then of course there towards Wei as well. Once you get below a certain health threshold, I think it's about 35%, you do an extra 20% damage or so with the Shadow Flame, because it crits on very low health targets with your magic damage or tree damage. It just really helps you finish off those targets like we've seen in the last couple of plays.
Your point is very valid.
Yes.
It's very good.
Yeah.
That's a Guinzoo's on Varus.
Oh.
So I don't want to say that it's not great, but I feel like you need to fully commit to lethality in this situation.
I mean,
unless this game goes another 20 minutes and he completely changes his build.
So. I can't remember if this works like this, but does Muramana apply twice on stacked Rage Blade? Because that'd be some decent DPS. I think the problem with their finding is that Lever's got enough damage on the first arrow, but they're really struggling for a second DPS source beyond that, which we kind of called from draft, right? Because you can kind of do well against the Kalista. Breathe doesn't have flash for this fight. Wei's in the back. He has flash and he has ult, but this is a safe retreat so far from EDG. RNG not pulling the trigger. They've been struggling to pull the trigger again.
They are Breathe on a very long flank. You can see they're trying to just shepherd them towards the Kennens. They don't have to use too much. Here we go. They're going to get the TP coming out here from Allah and the Shrima's Legacy. They'll get the Fate's Call. Damn. That's good. TP and the passive out from our Azir. You take that, you walk away.
Yeah, Ming takes so much damage, though. We're playing around fine margins now. This has reached late game. You have an incredibly powerful Azir, and Fisher, you know, this is his first starting split in the LPL. As we said, he played 2 games last year, subbed in and played against Xiaohu, and it was not a great experience. Aloe is going to find Breathe. He's going to survive, but he's not particularly happy about it.
He's going to survive, but with a death cap now picked up, there's just so little magic resistance being brought up here as Jiejie is now spotted out, and Breathe maybe thinking he'd go for Allah, but without any healing reduction, which has just become a non-picked up stat nowadays. It's just not a risk you can really take. The Aatrox can survive so much, especially with that Sterix.
One of my worries now, though, is yes, you do have a Zhonya's or something like the Taliyah, but if Breathe goes for a very big engage and doesn't catch Leave, or if you're on a flank and actually Leave or Vampire hits a hook or a CC onto you, you are going to explode. You don't have a stopwatch, you don't have a Zhonya's in full. I don't care how much damage you've got to be able to survive to do that damage at some point. And actually, the last time he went in for a big ult, I mean, that first Baron play, that was quite dangerous from him. In fact, especially when you've got so much damage now being built up on Leave and Fisher.
Here's my next question.
Yeah.
Do we finish first, or does LEC start first?
We might be cutting it
starting soon-ish, I think.
Oh, Flash just about missed out on Tangyuan. Popping that Zhonya's. They were trying to cut the time short.
They were. They heard me talking smack.
As soon as you mention it is the classic. As soon as you mention it, action starts to happen. EDG have got themselves into a decent position for this. There's no flanking ward to teleport to. Arrows are starting to rain down. And it's not like Ming has himself any sustain.
They're looking for a bit of a move. The Chain of Corruption, though, doesn't land onto anybody. They move back. The flash back in. Fisher. They may be able to get him out alive. No! Deleted! Tangyuan and Breed just comboing up very nicely now. Wei looking to try and jump onto Leave. They need to try and get this AD carry out of it. A flash by Tangyuan as he looks to try and jump straight back onto the Varus. That's it. That's got to be the game because you have no wave clear left and all of your carries will be dying. Allah is trying to keep his last breath going for as long as he can, and he's doing a fairly good job, but they may just barrel up mid.
Oh, it was a disastrous shuffle from Fisher. It went into the minefield, the unraveled earth from the Taliyah. He stuns himself late game in front of the entire enemy team. He loses almost all of his HP before he can Zhonya's, and what was looking like a tense late game scenario is decided by one egregious error from the new mid laner of EDG.
Really unfortunate there that's what these games are built on, those fine margins, but can they defend it? It's the 2 tanks. Thank you, boys, but they will be going out of this game. RNG will be starting off their 2024 with a win, and it's ever so sweet when it's against an old rival.
And it is one of the most storied matchups in LoL esports history. RNG walk away with a 2-1 victory after getting hammered in game 1. It's a very impressive comeback from them. Of course, both these teams came in with a lot of changes. We didn't know where to pin them, and they were fairly evenly matched. I have some worries about RNG and how they were easily, or in this case, not easily, they were finding it to pull the trigger, but at least they walk away with the win. And of course, you only get to play each team once. It's an important win to take.
It is a very important win, and again, not the cleanest. We can definitely see positives for RNG and negatives, and the same on the other side for EDG. But they were made work for it. It took a while, but eventually RNG